Every Christmas, Emma prepared her small apartment the same way, slowly and carefully. She placed the tree by the window, hung familiar ornaments, and left one chair untouched near the fireplace, exactly where it had always been. Friends believed she had moved on because she smiled, worked, and spoke politely about the future. What they never saw was the quiet hope she carried each year, waiting for the man who left without explanation to return. Waiting felt safer than forgetting. Daniel loved Emma deeply, but fear ruled his decisions. After losing his job and surviving a sudden car accident, he felt his life collapsing around him. When the doctor told him he had terminal cancer and only months to live, panic replaced reason. Daniel imagined Emma watching him weaken and suffer, and he decided he would rather disappear than remain in her life as someone she pitied or felt sorry for. Pain felt unavoidable, and silence began to feel like protection. Daniel never told Emma the truth. Instead, he planned a fight, carefully choosing words that would hurt enough to push her away. He accused her of suffocating him and holding him back. Even though none of it was true, Emma apologized again and again, believing she had failed him, while Daniel forced himself to stay cold and distant. When she finally left in tears, Daniel remained behind in silence, choosing loneliness over honesty as he waited for the end he believed was coming. When Emma walked out that night, Daniel did not follow. He stood alone in the apartment, listening to the quiet settle in around him. The space felt empty immediately, as if her presence had been holding everything together. Daniel packed his remaining belongings, erased his contact details, and vanished without explanation. He believed leaving her confused and angry would hurt less than allowing her to watch him fade away slowly. Silence became the shield he hid behind. Daniel moved into a small rented room where nobody knew his name or his past. He stopped looking for work and avoided hospitals, convinced hope would only make things worse. Each morning, he woke surprised to still be alive, and each night, he wondered if tomorrow would finally end everything. His days passed in silence as he watched seasons change through a narrow window, believing time no longer belonged to him. Waiting for death felt easier than returning to face the damage he had caused. Emma continued living quietly, never explaining why she stayed alone. Inside her apartment, nothing changed. Daniel's mug stayed in the cupboard, his jacket remained in the closet, and his absence filled every corner. Each Christmas, she decorated carefully, afraid the smallest change might somehow erase the chance of his return. She blamed herself for the fight, believing she had failed him, never knowing the truth behind his disappearance. Hope became both comfort and pain at the same time. Months passed, and Daniel did not grow weaker. He expected pain, but it never arrived. Instead of relief, this filled him with confusion and dread. He avoided doctors, afraid confirmation might pull him back to a life he had destroyed. Every thought of Emma felt like a reminder of his cowardice. Returning would mean explaining why he chose cruelty over trust, and that truth felt heavier than the diagnosis itself. So he stayed hidden, counting time he believed no longer mattered. 18 months later, Daniel's cousin Michael visited Daniel's old house to clear it out. Dust covered everything, as if time had stopped waiting. While sorting through forgotten mail, Michael found unopened hospital letters marked urgent. He opened one and froze. The letter explained a serious error. Medical reports had been switched. Daniel was never sick. Michael felt anger rise before relief, knowing years of suffering had been caused by a single mistake no one corrected in time. Michael found Daniel days later and handed him the letters without warning. Daniel read them slowly, his hands trembling as the truth settled in. Relief never came. Instead, rage and shame crashed together. He had destroyed his marriage for a death that was never coming. For the first time in years, Daniel cried not from fear of dying, but from the weight of what he had done while trying to avoid pain. Survival no longer felt like a gift. It felt like responsibility he could not escape. After new tests confirmed he was healthy, Daniel felt exposed and unprotected. He wanted to return to Emma, but feared she had already moved on. Facing rejection felt worse than living with regret. He imagined knocking on her door and seeing someone else beside her. The thought kept him frozen. Remaining invisible felt safer than risking the truth. Yet every night, Emma's face returned in his thoughts, reminding him that silence had already done enough damage. Emma sensed something changing as another Christmas approached. The waiting felt heavier, more exhausting than before. She had learned how to survive without answers, but her body carried the cost. She told no one about the quiet fear growing inside her. One night, sitting near the tree, she recorded a voicemail she never planned to send. She spoke calmly, telling Daniel she hoped he was okay. Then she added softly that this might be the last Christmas she waited. Michael finally told Daniel the truth. Emma had never moved. She never replaced him. Every Christmas, she still waited, leaving the porch light on. The words broke Daniel completely. Her loyalty hurt more than anger ever could. Staying away now felt crueler than returning. For the first time, Daniel understood that his silence had not protected Emmett, had trapped her in unanswered pain. Avoiding her was no longer something he could justify. On Christmas Eve, Daniel drove back through familiar streets, his heart pounding with every turn. Snow blurred the road and softened the city lights. He rehearsed apologies that sounded weak even to himself. When he reached Emma Street and saw the porch light glowing, he stopped the car and sat motionless. That light meant she was still waiting. Daniel realized he could no longer decide from a distance. Whatever happened next had to be faced honestly. Emma opened the door slowly, unsure what she expected to see. When she saw Daniel standing there, older and shaking, she froze. Daniel didn't smile or explain himself quickly. He told her everything about the diagnosis, the fear, and the fight he staged to make her leave. Emma listened without interrupting, anger and relief colliding inside her. For the first time, the silence between them finally had answers. "You took my choice," Emma said quietly. Daniel didn't argue or defend himself. He nodded, accepting the weight of her words. Emma didn't forgive him that night. She didn't pretend the damage was small. But something important shifted. She stopped blaming herself for his disappearance. Understanding did not erase the pain, but it released her from waiting without knowing why. Daniel listened, realizing facing her anger was the least he owed. They talked through the night, not repairing the past, but finally acknowledging it. Daniel spoke about fear and shame. Emma spoke about loneliness and doubt. No promises were made. No timelines were set. Yet something real returned between them, the honesty that had been missing for years. When morning light entered the room, the space no longer felt heavy with silence. For the first time since Daniel left, they shared the same truth in the same place. Emma stood near the fireplace and looked at the empty chair she had kept for years. Without speaking, she moved it aside. The simple act felt heavier than any argument. Daniel watched silently, understanding what it meant. She was not erasing the past. She was ending the waiting. Daniel did not reach for her or promise forever. He stayed where he was, letting her decide the pace. Respect replaced fear, and patience replaced disappearance. That Christmas passed without celebration or speeches. There was no loud music, no forced joy. There was only presence. Daniel stayed not as a hero returning, but as a man willing to face consequences. Emma allowed him to remain, not because the pain was gone, but because understanding finally existed. The waiting ended not with forgiveness, but with clarity. Love remained changed into something slower and more careful. In the days that followed, Daniel did not rush to fix what he had broken. He stayed present, listened more than he spoke, and accepted Emma's distance without complaint. Emma allowed herself to feel anger without guilt. What they rebuilt was not the future they once imagined, but something more honest. Waiting had taught Emma patience. Loss had taught Daniel responsibility. Healing arrived quietly, without drama, one truthful moment at a time. Emma no longer waited for Christmas to feel whole. She no longer measured time by absence. Daniel no longer hid from the consequences of love. Their story did not end with perfection, but with truth. The porch light still glowed, not as a signal of longing, but as a sign of openness. Some stories do not close with certainty or celebration. They end when people choose honesty over fear. This was the last Christmas Emma waited because truth finally arrived.